أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Tonight is the 28th night, and it is quite evident that the breeze from New Eid is now blowing very fast. There are people who have started looking for a moon from tonight. Before we come to the question of Eid, of course we have got to first understand when can there be Eid. Eid can be there when the new moon for the month of Shawwal has been sighted. And according to the fiqh of Imam Jaffer salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, a month is either 29 or 30. Now, in order to establish the moon, either you see it yourself. When you have seen the moon, you have viewed the moon, and you are definite and sure about it, certain about it, the month has dawned, there is no doubt about it. The second way is, of course, when two reliable and trustworthy witnesses come to you and say that we have seen the moon, and you trust them and rely upon them, you can accept that and see that the moon has been sighted. But in this case, with due apology to our ladies, no witness from women can be considered because they see some moon very soon. So as far as the witness for moon is concerned, witness must be from man alone. And otherwise, if it is a general knowledge in a Muslim population where it has been accepted without any doubt, which is called the popular acceptance, which is called Shia' or Shiyu', then of course we know that the moon has been seen and sighted. In the case of Ayatullah Gul Payagani Damadillu, the fourth thing is that when the Hakim Shara, that is the Mujtahid, who gives a hukum that moon has been sighted and tomorrow is Eid or Ramadan, then we follow it. This is according to Ayatullah Gul Payagani, that hukum of Hakim also serves the purpose. Now these are the four things which will determine the moon in any month, not necessarily Shawwal. Now about this year, before I say anything, let me tell you one thing, that fasting is a symbol of sabr. Sabr. That is why many mufassirin and people who have written tafsir have clearly said, where there is an ayah, ista'inu bis sabri was salah, seek assistance and help from Allah through sabr and namaz, they have translated sabr as fasting, because it is nothing but sabr. I mean, man tries to refrain from eating and drinking. There is no one who is catching him by his throat. It is qurbatan ilallahi ta'ala, and it is sabr during the whole day that carries him through, and sabr carries him through the whole month. Now when we reach 29th of Mah Mubarak Ramadan, it seems that the sabr is lost. Now there are two types of Muslims. One who, mashallah, eat 30 days of Ramadan and are only waiting for Eid. To them, we say, congratulations for the eating days. They didn't bother for Ramadan. They want to just say that tomorrow is a day of festivity, therefore let us start. And many of you might find it difficult to believe, but they also come out to give out false witnesses, testimonies, before even a mujtahid to say that yes, we have seen the moon while they have not seen, and these are the facts of life. Ayatullah al-Hakim and Ayatullah al-Khuy rahmatullah alayhima and many mujtahideen knew about this because they used to collect the witnesses, and the type of witnesses which people came there and gave testimonies were such that they were not reliable. Some would say, my mother saw it in Hammam. Some would say, my sister saw it. Some would say, as if I saw it. And so on. It goes on. Well, and the other types are those who are rozadar. That means they have been fasting throughout the month. Even they become so anxious and so eager that if anyone like me, a fool, tries to tell them that the month has not yet been established and the moon has not yet been sighted, he becomes an enemy number one. That this man is stopping us from iftar. Now this year, the Muslims are going to start having Eid from Tuesday. Before even the birth of moon. The birth of moon, the new moon, is in the evening on Tuesday at about 6:25 or 6:35 when the moon will be born. Tuesday evening, but they are going to celebrate Eid on Tuesday. And many have already announced, some of the Muslim countries have also announced, which is impossible because that will be a day on which even the moon has not been born, and it will be 29th of Ramadan. Now on that evening, as I say, the birth of moon will take place. The birth will take place, but it will not be visible. Normal calculation is that after the birth of new moon, it must become 17 hours old before it can be seen. And according to us in Sharia, it is the sighting of the moon and not the birth of the moon. You must be able to see it. So on Tuesday evening, there will be no sighting of the moon. So Wednesday, there can be no Eid. In London, the birth will take place on Tuesday evening, and on Wednesday evening, the new moon, which has already been born, will be only 11 hours and some few minutes old. Therefore, it will not be visible. You can't have Eid on Wednesday. And those to the east, like, mashallah, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Lebanon, from where normally we always get the news earliest, it is all the more impossible for them to view the moon on Tuesday evening. Not possible. And in East Africa, they have already announced that not only it will not be visible, but the distance of time between sunset and moonset will be only 1 minute. You cannot see it. In Toronto, by the time they have got the sunset and the time of viewing comes in, it will be about 16 hours only, not even 17. So even from there, the visibility is not possible. Now, according to Ayatullah Gul Payagani, Damadillu, countries to your east, if they view the moon, not west, the east, and if you are certain and established information comes to you, you can follow. But as I told you just now, from the east, it will be all the more impossible to see. Now the question is, so when is the Eid, Mullah Sahib? Is it on Friday? No. Eid is, inshallah ta'ala, on Thursday. Guruwar. Thursday. Inshallah ta'ala. Now, we must thank Allah that He gives us a bonus of one day. We will have 30 days of Ramadan. We must thank Him for the bonus. Not that we, from the night, start quarreling and fighting that Makunduchi has seen or some remote place in Dodoma has seen. And Thursday. Be patient. Inna Allah ma'as sabirin. Allah is with those who are patient and forbearing. Now, what they have asked me recently is that, Mullah Sahib, can Allah not bring the moon on Wednesday? For Wednesday. That means, is He not Qadir? Qadir means omnipotent, powerful. Can He not bring the moon if He wants on Tuesday evening? We can just see and view, and Wednesday can be Eid. I mean, what is your scientific calculation? These are the questions which have come to me now. That you are always talking about scientific. My friends, viewing of the moon is a natural phenomenon, and it is controlled by science. It's just like sunrise and sunset. Now, if Allah wishes, can He not order sun to rise earlier? He can. I mean, who can say no to Allah's omnipotence? And if He wishes, can there not be an evening earlier? It can. I mean, if He wants, anything can happen. In the signs of Akhiruz Zaman, that means before our Imam alayhi salam reappears, it is there that we will have eclipse in 1 month, which normally is not happening. And not only that, but the sun will be rising from the opposite direction, which means, in scientific terms, that the movement of earth will change. I mean, scientifically, it means that the movement of earth will change, because there is no east or west. East or west is relative. Today we call that part east where the sun rises, and that part is west where the sun sets. But we know that there is no rising and setting. Actually, it is the movement of the earth. So when Shariat says, and when the Prophet gave the information that you will see the sun rise from the opposite direction, it means that the movement of earth will change. It's quite open. Now, when we have got all these things, we know this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Qadir. How can I say that He cannot bring moon on Tuesday? I cannot say that. But what I can say is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after having set His natural laws into motion, then lan tajida li sunnatillahi tabdila. You don't see His set laws and traditions change. If He has kept this is the reason why we can forecast sun eclipse, we can forecast, predict moon eclipse, we can tell you whether it's going to be total or partial eclipse, we can tell you about so many things based on the scientific facts, because it is a natural phenomenon. And every day we have sunrise and sunset fixed. We know that at this time the sun will rise, it will rise. And this is how we prepare our timetables. Similarly, as far as this moon is concerned, it is controlled by the law which has been set by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself. And according to the laws that He has set, the visibility of moon on Tuesday evening is not possible. So, on Tuesday evening, we will wait for the information. If there is anything like hukum of hakim, because in the days of Ayatollah al-Khui, we were not following hukum al-hakim, because he himself said that there is no hukum of hakim in matters of moon. But Agul Paigani says it has a hukum of hakim in matter of moon. If there is a hukum of hakim, we shall know. If there is any other established evidence which takes us to certitude and yaqeen, we will follow. Otherwise, my friends, there is no need to create any commotion. I know we all want to eat that sev. Khaji Eid ni sev, ne gai namaz ni tev. See, we are all waiting for that. So we are prepared for it. You see, we are. It is a day of joy, but it must be on the day ordained. And inshallah ta'ala, as things point towards it, it will be on Thursday. If you all know that it's going to be on Thursday, then there will be no anxiety. That's why I have told you. Now, if there is any information, it will be given to you. But there is going to be no information according to the data that we have at our disposal. And just now, as I am coming from the office, I have received a fax from Iran also, which says that all probability moon is on Wednesday, and therefore Eid is on Thursday. And inshallah ta'ala, may Allah make Eid Mubarak for all of you and also for all of us. Let the breeze blow, but gently. Not very strong now. Still, mashallah, we have got to fast on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Then, of course, next year, when one of the Mullah Sahib stood up, it is the story of Iran, not of London. He stood up and said, "Oh people, try to seek forgiveness from Allah. We don't know whether the month of Ramadan as our guest is gone pleased or displeased." So one gentleman stood up and said, "Mullah Sahib, there is nothing to fear. He has definitely gone pleased." He said, "Well, how can you say?" He said, "Because he's coming back. No guest who is displeased comes again." If a guest comes at your home, and if he is not well received, he doesn't come again. But this man has told us he's coming back. Since he is coming back, therefore he is definitely happy and pleased. So that is how it is, inshallah ta'ala, that he is coming next year. May Allah keep us alive, that we may be able to fast again, pray unto him for our own selves and for the people, inshallah ta'ala. In continuation of what I said last night, only few things because the time is now up, that in the matter of akhlaq, the next thing which is very important is speech. It starts with kibr, arrogance and pride, and when a man is proud and arrogant, then when he talks, he is abrasive. He hurts. He is abusive sometimes because of that arrogance and pride. So the tongue, and for this reason we have been told repeatedly by the Prophet and by A'immah salamullah alayhim ajma'in to observe as much silence as we can. Silence. Sometimes there is a provocation. People provoke you to speak. A man is a man if he knows where to keep shut. You see, and silent. At the most, what will happen? People will say this man is silent because he does not know. But Sheikh Saadi has said, "Ta kas sukhani na gufta bashad, aibo hunarash nufta bashad." Till the man has not spoken, as long as he has not spoken, you do not know whether the man is really learned or is ignorant. He hasn't spoken yet. When he speaks, then we know in what water he is, how much deep he is. Har bisha guma mabar ke khalis, shayad ki palang khufta bashad. In every jungle that you enter, if it is silent, don't be misled. There might be a lion somewhere here and there. So if you see a man silent, don't construe that this man is a madman or ignorant. Maybe he knows, and he knows better. In English they say, silent waters run deep, very deep. So we have been asked to remain silent on matters that are not connected with us, and in the matters which where we know that if we speak, it's going to create a problem. Especially when we speak for nothing but either ghiba or tuhma. We take this as very simple. And as I said, because these are the lapses of akhlaq, they lead us to gunah-e-kabira. Ghiba is a gunah-e-kabira, but it actually is a lapse of akhlaq. Imam Zainul Abidin salawatullah salamu alayh in Dua Makarimul Akhlaq has enumerated this in the dua as the lapses of akhlaq, but it leads us to gunah-e-kabira. And when the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said one day, and one man started with ghiba, that means backbiting, and the Prophet stopped him and said, don't do this. The answer he gave is typical and characteristic of the answers we give even today after 14 centuries. He said, Ya Rasulullah, what I speak is the truth. The man is like this, it's the truth. So the Prophet said, if it is the truth, then it is ghiba. And if it is untrue, then it is tuhmat, which is worse. You see? So on the day of Qiyamah, these two people who have been the victim of our ghiba or our tuhma, they have got right to rise and say, Ya Allah, these people did this for me and I want justice from you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive haqqullah, but will not forgive haqqun nas, the haqq of the people, unless the people themselves have forgiven me. So when we speak, this is what happens. And the third thing is abusing. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. How can a mu'min abuse? I just can't understand. How can he abuse? How can he stoop so low that from his tongue comes something dirty, fuhsh? Abusing somebody's father, mother, or whatever. And we think this is it's something ordinary. It's not ordinary. How can it come out? In fact, even if you have heard, we are not supposed even to narrate what we have heard. That means if we heard someone abuse and somebody else asks, what did he say? We would not even repeat what he has said because it is not even worth repeating. Because your tongue gets dirty, your mouth gets dirty. How can we do this? So Imam Rida salawatullah salamu alayhi said that when somebody abuses you, first of all, when somebody abuses you, it does not stick. Does it stick? Huh? It does not stick. He abuses you, right? It does not stick. You don't become what he has said. But the greatness, Imam al-Islam said, the greater of the two is one. One is abused. I mean, there are two situations. Either the other fellow who has been abused will answer back and retaliate, or he will keep quiet. Imam al-Islam said, the greater is the one who keeps quiet. And وَإِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا salama. When such people abuse or accuse or whatever, he says, peace be upon you, and he just goes away. وَإِذَا مَرُّوا بِاللَّغْوِ مَرُّوا كِرَامًا. And when they see such nonsensical things, they just pass by in a dignified way. It's akhlaq, but 90% of our problems begin with the smallest but the most dangerous thing. And it can sometimes cost my life. Ibn Sikit, I related this once. He was known as Ibn Sikit because he was all the time silent, sukut. He was so silent and so quiet that people sometimes did not even talk to him. They say, this man can sit from morning till evening talking nothing. Yes, please. He was employed by one of the Abbasid Khalifa to teach his sons, two sons, because he was a master of Arabic grammar and Arabic rhetoric, balagha. So he was a teacher, and he was teaching. He taught them and went home. He taught them and went home every day. No other talks, just teaching them. One day, the Khalifa himself called him to the court and said, "How are my sons faring on with their lessons?" He said, "They are doing well. They are doing well. Alhamdulillah, I can see some progress." So the Khalifa said, "Don't you think that my two sons are better than Hassan and Hussein?" And Ibn Sikit is famous. There is a poem in Arabic in which he has said himself that always keep quiet, for the tongue can cost you your neck. There is one of his own. It stood to be prophetic for himself, because the moment Khalifa told him this, that don't you think my two sons who you are teaching are better than Hassan and Hussein? Immediately he said, there is no comparison between your sons and Hassan and Hussein. In fact, you can't compare them even with Qambar and children of Qambar. Qambar was a servant of Imam Ali. The moment he said this, the Khalifa was so upset that he asked that man to be executed. Ibn Sikit was killed. Poor fellow, for the first time that he openly spoke, it really cost him his neck. But he was prepared to give his neck for the sake of Ahlul Bayt. But sometimes it can cost you for nothing. For Ahlul Bayt it is something. Sometimes it can cost you your prestige and anything without any substantial benefit derived out of it. So let us understand this. This is a society here. In Gujarati they say, "Baap ne baapni baidi pan kyo." Maane baapni baidi kyo, ane maane maae kyo. I mean, ya kaana ne kaano kyo, and one blind. Kaana ne kaano kyo, ya to kaho bhai aankh kem khoi. The same thing. I mean, you just say aankh kem khoi, so he will feel that you are so sympathetic that you are asking him how did he lose his eyesight. It is the same thing. When somebody dies, and when we go to the family, what do we say? We say, "Bhai, sabr karo, badha no ek rasto che." It's a nice way of telling him that even you will die someday. I mean, but if you tell him, "Bhai, sabr kar tame pan jawana cho," he will not allow you to come back again. But you don't tell him that. What you tell him is, "Badha no ek kaj rasto che." That is the way how we say. It is the same thing, but it is how we say. A palmist enters the court of Harun Rashid and somebody tells him that this is a good palmist. Harun said, "Oh, so I would like him to read my palm." So he read his palm and then said, he said, "Oh, is it very bad?" He said, "No, but should I tell you?" He said, "Yes, don't fear, you tell me." He said, "You are going to see the deaths of your children and most of your brothers and your relatives. You will survive them all. You will see the deaths of all these relatives of yours." Harun was so upset that he asked that man to be imprisoned. He said, "Put him into prison. Talks nonsense." After some time, another palmist entered. He was warned. He said, "Look, if you speak something nonsense here, you will go in." He just looked at the palm and he said, "MashaAllah, MashaAllah. O king, you are going to live longer than all of your relatives." He was given the prize and the gifts and all that. Now what is the difference there? The first one did not know how to put it. It is from your tongue. The way you speak. We live in this society, there are ways and methods of speech. But when we become abrasive and when we become abusive, then the beginning of akhlaq. When a boy or a girl is not told by the parents how to
أنت ألهمته شكرك